For this history final, I will be making oatmeal muffins, and that consists of rolled oats, and I have old-fashioned, baking powder, salt, molasses, flour, 1 egg, melted fat, and I'll be using Crisco, and milk. Because of the war in the 1920s, there were 2 wheatless meals in every week and 1 wheatless meal in every day, and this would be considered one of the wheat meals. The first part of this recipe, you'll have 2 cups of oats and 1.5 cup of heated milk, and you'll put that together and let it sit for half an hour. Although wheat was supposed to be sent to the soldiers, milk was considered the best thing for the children, and the rule was a quart of milk every day for a child. You should spend as much money on milk as you do for a pound of meat. So while this is sitting, we're going to put together our dry ingredients. For the dry ingredients, you'll need 1 cup of flour, 3/4 teaspoon of salt, and 4 teaspoons of baking powder. That seems like a lot of baking powder because in regular recipes, you usually only use like 1 teaspoon or so. And for the flour, you usually use like 2 cups, 2.5 cups, but since it's a wheat, the people back then wanted to save as much wheat as they can. So that explains the 1 cup. And you'll want to sift all of these. So this recipe calls for a moderately heated oven, which according to Google is 375 degrees. So after your oats have been sitting for half an hour, you will add first your wet ingredients, which is a tablespoon of melted fat, 2 tablespoons of molasses, and 1 beaten egg. And then after that, you will add your sifted dry ingredients. So this is what to expect it to look like when all the ingredients are mixed in. I didn't know if it was going to be runny or dough-like, just based on what the ingredients were, but this is what you should expect it to look like. After it's all mixed together, you will grease your pan here, and it calls for 10 to 12 muffins, and it's pretty sticky, so just scoop it up and put some in there. These go in the oven for about 30 minutes, and I thought that this recipe book was a really great resource on how to cook things that were super limited. It had things like wheat meals, meat meals, baked goods, stews and soups and sauces, and I just thought it was really resourceful because it was easy to follow, and it gave a long process and a short process. And it also explained why you do these things. So like why you can only have wheat 1 time a day. So I just thought it was really resourceful, and it gave super good insight to how women had to cook back then because of the war. So while those are cooking for 30 minutes, like I said, you can start on the dishes. So after they come out of the oven, you'll want to let them cool. And this recipe is good. It's just kind of bland, but it doesn't break apart, or it does break apart, but it doesn't crumble. And I think that's because even in the recipe book, it said to never let breads go out and get stale. It said to never cut them on the table because crumbs can't even be wasted. And I think that this is one of the recipes that has very minimal crumbs for ingredients and things to be wasted. As you can see, it's crispy on the outside and moist on the inside. And yeah, it was good, but it was just a little bland. And the thing about this recipe that really surprised me was the baking soda that was used, or baking powder that was used, and the fat that was used. It just surprised me a little bit because even in today's recipes, full sticks or even half sticks of butter are used in recipes, so that was just a little surprising. But yeah, this is the oatmeal muffins from the 1920s.